Greetings, you all. Happy Thursday. Guess what, motherfuckers? Venus is in Cancer. And if you have not been able to feel the retrograde before now, like the retrograde has been kind of cool for me. I've been moving through stuff, but it has felt very contained for me. And then last night, Venus went into Cancer. And I'm like, oh, motherfucking Venus is in Cancer because everything can be felt. So fucking great. I love it. I love it. How are y'all? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, you all. Happy Thursday. In case y'all are you can't hear me? Quasi, can you hear me? Happily Ever After, can you hear me? Can somebody hear me? Because if nobody can hear me, then I'm going to go. Okay, great. You're like, it's you. It's so funny. So, everyone, I will say that I'm just kind of really here to talk. I'm going to try to talk about the astrology. There's so many energies happening right now that I don't really know how to just focus on one. I just sat myself, the kind of chaos that's going on is the fact that I just sat myself in the middle of a field with boys playing baseball, boys playing soccer, and I'm like over here and all their balls are coming my way because like, why the fuck would you sit in the field with everybody playing? Because this is where I normally sit and I didn't pay attention. And normally, sometimes it doesn't have movement in it, but it does today. And that's how the astrology is. There's just all of these things that are occurring. And one of those things is Mercury's in retrograde. Mercury's in retrograde. But that's not where, if I stick to my schedule, then I can do this. Greetings, everyone. I am the Moon Mama. Today is a Jupiter day. And Jupiter is currently in Cancer, where Venus just moved into. So Jupiter in Cancer is really this beautiful energy. Jupiter might be exalted in Cancer. I'm not sure, but I would have to check and see. But it's this beautiful energy of expansion in areas of how we nurture ourselves. What we're being asked to do now is really come into deep care of ourselves. Yesterday I talked about Mars in Virgo. Yes, I talked about Mars in Virgo, and Mars in Virgo is literally about your physical body and how we are carrying emotions from old things. So, like, I will tell you guys, yesterday I was out and I ran into a woman who was my therapist 20 years ago. And this woman has had such great impact on my life, shadow and light. But I wouldn't be who I am without her. And the journey that I walked in my own evolutionary experience with this woman was rigorous. Rigorous, enlightening, humbling, like just things that my life, this is what I'll say, my life has taught me who to be by being surrounded by people showing me who not to be. That's what I'm going to say. My life has taught me who to be by being surrounded by opposition, by people where I have been like, oh, I don't want to be that way. You know what I mean? So like my mother, in her experience of being a prostitute, I remember as a child watching the attention that she got, like a little child, like 3, you know what I mean? 4, like a little girl, watching the attention that she got. How I was so little, I could watch the men watching her hips sway. I could watch their energy rise. I could watch that she wasn't really safe because of, like, in my little self, I was like, she's not safe because of how I see these men responding to her. Like, I knew that there was a threat in the space. And I did not want that. So I determined as a child that that thing I'm watching out there is not for me. I have had countless experiences like that in my life with people who are up close and personal. You know, in this particular experience, a person who was like a mentor, a healer of some sort, who was presenting one way in the world, but because I was in a close personal relationship with them, I knew that what was going on behind the scenes was not who they really were. It's not that it wasn't who they really were. It wasn't the fullness. And that full story wasn't being told. And so I have grown up and been in a reality where I have been able to see the full scope of people and see it from this fractured perspective. Like, they're saying one thing, but I know this is really happening. This is what's really going on. And that has done a thing inside of me. That has been a real sort of cross to bear, because I have had to learn how to be quiet. I have had to learn when it's time to speak up. I have had to learn, I've witnessed being in spaces where everybody is keeping up a lie, which is so fucking a trip to me, where everybody is lying. You know what I mean? And that includes me. Like, everybody's acting like they don't see something, or everybody's acting like they're powerless in it, or they're not complicit in it. I have been a part of that. Like, all of these very shadowy things. And the only thing that has really given me peace with it and clarity around it is the astrology. When I started really studying astrology and my chart, I started to realize that, oh, I'm in environments where people project their shadows onto me. Like, I carry an innocence. And not that I haven't done shit, because I have, you know what I mean? But I don't want to try to discern ego and shadow, because let me just tell you where I move from, though. It has always been my intention to not hurt other people. I just have had this thing. Like, I have been an incredible people pleaser. So a part of that people pleasing aspect of me is putting other people's needs above my own, to my own default, like as a problem. I get that now, but back then I didn't get it. And so I've been carrying like a heavy load, because I've been carrying people's stuff, and it wasn't mine to carry. That's the thing. It was not mine to carry. And so, while we're in Mercury retrograde, you know, we're having to review things. Jupiter is in Cancer, which brings up issues around the mother. And when I ran into this woman yesterday, I was so aware that, oh, there was something that I still needed to heal around mother wounds, because she sort of was like a mother, and most of the women have been like mothers to me because I wasn't mothered. So because I wasn't mothered, I had this wound around mothering. I had this wound around safety with women. And what I would often do is I would show up in the relationship as the child. And, you know, as a child, you're susceptible, you're gullible, you're open, you're receptive. And what I have discovered now on the back end, you know, 20 years later, in many of these relationships, that I was really dealing with a lot of wounded women. With the exception of a few. Like, I have had some women in my life who have been really above board, and I have not caught the flames of their wounds. But I will say that even in the situations where I caught the flames of their wounds, it was because I was wounded too. There was no victimization going on. It was because I was carrying a wound also. And the wounds attracted one another. And so women who really prioritize men over friendship, women who are all about that dick and not about other women, women who will do anything for men, and that includes throwing other women under the bus, women who see their value through the lens of the patriarchal idealism of being married, being partnered, being loved, being chosen. Those have been the types of women that I have interfaced with. And that has been a part of my own shadow to heal, because my mother was the kind of woman who prioritized men over her relationships with women. My mother was the type of woman who prioritized men over herself, right? So this shadow in the divine feminine is something that we're all contending with in various ways. And with Mercury retrograde, Venus has now just gone into Cancer. Jupiter has been in Cancer for maybe a couple of weeks now, and this is a Jupiter day. And so we're expanding the opportunities to nurture ourselves in deep ways. Nurture the parts of us that have been neglected, right? Like, I think that most of us probably can say that we weren't mothered in the ways that we needed for ourselves. So that can create an orphan wound. Even if you had, how can we heal this divine wound? You got to do the work. You got to do the work. It's you have to do the work. And I love that question. I love the question. You have to be sincere. You have to take responsibility. That's it. You got to stop calling anybody else's name. One of the things that I'm very clear about, like when I ran into this woman yesterday, in my immediate experience with her yesterday, I energetically reverted back to sort of like the client therapist role. But as soon as I was out of her company, I noticed that and was like, oh. And what I had to really get to, because immediately then I started to feel angry about things that happened in my experience with her that I never spoke up around, that I hadn't cleared out. And immediately I had to realize that's my responsibility. She's not doing anything wrong to me. She's just being herself. She is being what I allowed her to be. So the first thing to do is take responsibility that no one is doing anything to you. No one has never done anything to you. And most of us just don't want to do that. We really want to call someone else's name. We want to make someone else responsible for how we feel. We want to make someone else responsible for our trauma and our continued trauma. We want to say they did this, they did that. And maybe they did, but you are the reason that they did it, because you allowed it. You invited it. You said yes to it. You stayed in the space, and we're beyond a world now where we get to blame anybody, because everything here is a projection of your own energy. So if I have, a choir of wounded women showing up in my life, it's because they're mirroring to me my own wounds, and that is the gift of the universe that says, we're showing you this wound because you won't see it otherwise. But it took me some time to realize that that's how the universe worked. It took me some time to get comfortable enough in this body of mine, in this vessel, to be able to hold the polarities, to be able to hold how bad it feels to be in experiences with women that are unconscious. It took me being able to really look at myself and then realize that everybody around me was a mirror. And what I see with the feminine is that we are just out of touch with who we really are. Even in this case, this woman is a feminine power coach. And to the degree that I am in relationship with her now, which is very, very minimal, I don't know how clear she is about her creations and her reality. I don't know how clear she is about her impact on others. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's looking at the reflection. I don't know, I know that I came out of that experience with a number of people. understanding that I was really fucked up and traumatized and I needed to really do some work. Because what I experienced there, first of all, she's a white woman. And the thing that was so interesting yesterday is that I accidentally called her Karen. Literally by accident. I called her Karen by accident. And that was literally my subconscious relating to that entitled white woman energy. Because when I left the community that I was a part of, that she created, me and another girlfriend of mine literally we left the community and we literally used to create a saying, because we saw something that was very powerful. We left the community and we had a saying. We would go, what would a white woman do? When anything would come up, from that point on, we would go, what would a white woman do? Because we saw that white women were different. We saw that we were not like white women, being in a community that was run by white women. And on some level, it was just an interesting perspective to see how black women function differently. We function differently. We're just not the same, you know? And then I started really understanding why we're not the same. And so, you know, I had to take responsibility. I had to really take responsibility and begin to see the world through the lens that I was actually embodying, which was a black woman's lens. I had to embrace that deeply, because the thing that America does, if you're not careful, and I think that most people, it happens to them, and maybe that's coming undone now. Most black people have been aspiring to whiteness, whether you know it or not. It's just in the fabric of the nation. It's just in capitalism and idealism and beauty form and all that. It's all white supremacy. And so once I spent intimate time with white women, I was just like, oh, they're not like us. They're not like us. Like, because I had opportunities to be exclusively with black women, I didn't know that white women were different. I didn't really know it until I got into their environments. They are not the same. They are not like us. They are not like us. They are not like us. And that's just like an apple and a peach are not the same. An apple and a peach are not the same. They're both fruit. They both have value, but they are not the same. And one of the things that I saw in this community was that white women were really not friends. They didn't really care about one another. They were really competing. There was really a depth of competition and unspoken, subtle, dark energies that were really permeating the space that were unspoken. They were unspoken, but they were there. And that's something, I don't want to say that I experienced that with all women, because all women have subconscious power, but I experienced that black women are generally more open-hearted, generally more communal, generally more willing to share, generally more just more communal. That's all I can say. Just more communal, more supportive. You know what I mean? It was tricky though, because this woman was a therapist, and so because she was a therapist, she had that caring nature. But once the therapy line was crossed and we came into relationship, it was all shadow. It was all shadow. It was all shadow. And I needed to learn that lesson. And what I learned from it is how important it is to be doing your own work when you're in leadership. Which is why I always have somebody that I'm seeing. I always have I'm in community, I'm a leader in community, but I sit with somebody and I am always doing my own work. I will not allow myself to be pedestaled, and I won't pedestal myself, because when you're in community and everyone's eyes are on you. Everyone's eyes are on you. And so for me, it feels better if everyone's eyes are on me to just be really transparent, to just be really honest about, oh, I'm doing really great at this, and this is challenging for me. I'm working on this, and this is something that I haven't even gotten to yet. I'm in this process of my healing, but I'm still in this part of my trauma. It feels like transparency in leadership is the best way to allow people's eyes to be upon me, to know that I'm in the process just like you. I'm not ahead of you. I'm in my own dimension. I'm in my own work. And this is not a game of egos. This is holy, sacred, transformational work that is processed. Sometimes, I'm doing really great. Sometimes I'm praying for my demise because I can't take it no more. You know what I mean? Like, that is the true human experience right now. And when I was maturing into this work and learning and studying and sitting with teachers here in the West, there was this idea that there was some sense of arrival, some sense of, oh, I'm going to get there and but that is the illusion. It is the illusion. Yes. It is the illusion that we arrive at any point. There are points of like, okay, I don't have to work on this as much, but now I do. Like, there was a time when I was doing a lot of deep internal work, and I did that for years, you all. Like, a lot of deep internal work. I'm gonna say I did internal work for 20 years. For 20 years. And now I'm pretty good at that, and I feel good about it. But now I'm coming into the external world, and I am a novice all over again. I literally am like, okay, here we go. We're at the drawing board again. I'm a beginner again. And that is life. And that is what I have seen in my experience. The people who have been teachers in my world, for the most part, not all of them, but many of them have taught from this perspective that it's a straight line, which is a very patriarchal idea, and not a spiral. And so I'm at the beginning of the line today, but I'm going to be at the end of the line soon. And when you're at the end of the line and the person you taught is now at the beginning of the line, how did you handle them? How did you manage them? How did you interact with them? What was your level of responsibility, accountability, truth-telling, transparency? Because we are in a spiral, y'all, and, we're all in this together. And that's been the challenge of white supremacy and racism and the world that we have lived in now. We're watching things turn upside right. Things have been upside down. We have had white men at the helm of leadership, and we see what that looks like now, because it has completely gone awry, because it has had no breaks. It has had no boundaries. It has had no points of responsibility, accountability. It has just been pushing the gas, and now we see what that looks like, right? So what does it look like? How do we begin to shift this relationship with leadership from this white supremacist, racist way that has been through all of our country into something that is much more inclusive and diverse and honoring of the whole human being, of honoring of who we truly are. So today, with Jupiter in Cancer, as a Jupiter day, you want to look at the places inside of you that need to be nurtured. Also today, the energy is very strong today, you all. So all I can say is just be mindful of what you're creating. Like, literally, don't allow yourself to drift off into thinking that doesn't serve you. Don't do it. Don't listen to things that you don't want to show up in your garden of your consciousness. Take responsibility for what's coming into your experience, because what's coming in will soon be showing up in your 3D reality. So if you don't want it in your life, then don't do it. Let me see if there's anything else. If you've not purchased the Mercury retrograde book yet, we actually only have a couple more weeks left of Mercury retrograde, but the workbook transmits the energy. So I suggest that you still get it. You can get it in my link tree today. Also, there's a Saturn retrograde workbook. I also encourage you to sign up for my email list because I'm not here every day. Yesterday I sent out 3 emails. I also encourage you to sign up for my YouTube because I have a YouTube membership, and that's where I'm doing videos on the rituals and all those things that we can use for Mercury retrograde, leading meditations and all that kind of stuff. I'm not doing that stuff publicly anymore because Instagram has changed. It's not the same. So if you want to have more access to the work that I'm doing, you can find me at YouTube. You can sign up for my email list, sign up for the workbooks. You can get the workbooks on Linktree, and we're having our first event on August 10th here in Los Angeles, and you can check out the flyer for that on my post here. We would love to have you if you are in town. We're going to have a beautiful evening event of healing and community, sacred practice with women. So excited. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings. Have a really wonderful day. Bye-bye.